Have you ever wanted to launch your podcast, but you didn't fully understand the purpose behind it? And if you answer yes to that question, this video is just for you because today we're going to talk about how to think about podcasting rather than just doing podcasting. So my name is Terrell Humphrey. Over the last half a decade, I produced over 893 podcast episodes. And throughout that time, 893 podcast episodes while helping 23 entrepreneurs launch their podcasts with confidence. And the biggest thing that I started to do was to shift the perspective around podcasting. It's not just about creating content. It's about marketing yourself. It's about promoting yourself. It's about putting yourself out there. And when you put yourself out there effectively, your customers, your audience, your people start to find you even faster. So let's go ahead and get into the topic today. So how to think about podcasts. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. How to think about podcasts. First thing first, what's going on, y'all? Appreciate y'all for joining in. Let me know where y'all tapping in from. First thing first is this. When you're podcasting, you're not just creating content. When I started half a decade ago, I just thought like, man, I'm going to pick up my phone. And when I started to record, I had a short tripod. And the tripod didn't even reach my like I wasn't even in the camera, but I had 3 books underneath it. And throughout that time, like I was just getting comfortable with the process. I was getting comfortable with the equipment. I was getting comfortable with what I had. And then like when 2-3 years later on, that's when I start to learn more about business. Okay, what is business? Business is actually solving a problem in a way where it's organized, it's simple, and can be repeatable. Okay, so when I start to really understand more about business, I'm like, wait, hold on. What is this podcast thing? This podcasting thing is not just a conversation. This podcast thing is not just a conversation. This podcast thing is a collaboration. This podcast thing is content. This podcast thing is marketing. This podcast thing is storytelling. This podcast is all about putting yourself out there in a way where people can learn more about you. So then I'm like, okay, cool. So there's different type of formats, a different type of ways to have podcasts. And a lot of people have interview podcasts, which is not bad. A lot of people have solo podcasts, which is not bad. A lot of people have a panel podcast, which is not bad. There's different ways to have a podcast, but you have to think about podcasting differently. First thing first, point number 1 is that podcasting is marketing. Podcasting is marketing. It's marketing because you have to put yourself out there. I give you a prime example. This morning, I was supposed to go live at 8:30, and my software wasn't even the software. It was the cord. The cord was not working. And I'm like, man, what is going on? I understand why the cord is not working. The cord was not working. So I'm trying to figure it out. I restarted the computer. I restarted the iPad. I restarted like all the equipment. But then I'm like, wait. Maybe I got the cord in the wrong place. So I took the cord out, changed the cord, plugged it in. And I'm like, let me see if this worked. It worked. I talk a lot about failure because many times it's that you have to fail to recognize that you're doing something wrong. Only focusing on podcasting removes you from only focus on podcasting removes the focus of you marketing yourself. And I was like, okay, but I need to do this. I already have a routine. I'm developing a routine. But when I start to look at it as a business, just because I have technical difficulties doesn't mean I shouldn't be marketing myself. Just because I have issues uploading the live, starting the podcast doesn't mean that I need to stop marketing myself. What it means is that I have to become adaptable. I think I spelled that right. I have to become adaptable. Hold on. That didn't even look right. ADAPT. T-Y. There we go. I have to become adaptable to the changes, adaptable to the technology, adaptable to speaking to the customers, adaptable. Why? Because when you're marketing yourself, everything is not going to go as planned. As you're marketing yourself, everything will have issues. There will be issues when, like, man, is this business going to work? Am I actually going to do this business? But when you market yourself, you are putting yourself out there In other words, you're promoting yourself. It's kind of like with speaking engagement. When you go out and speak, you're promoting yourself. When you go out and go have vendor booths, you are promoting yourself. When you go out to different locations, have events, different places, have whatever the case is, you are promoting yourself. You can't stop promoting yourself because you have to market yourself. If you're in business, you have to market yourself effectively because no one is going to push your message like you're going to push your message. And now it makes sense when I was learning about like business, that was like, first you have to promote. The first 3 rules in business that you have to promote. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, you got to promote, like you got to go out and tell people about the product and service that you're selling. And I'm like, why? Don't they already know that? No, they do not know that. What happens is that when you're marketing, you got this little microphone, right? Hold on. I'm just going to use me, right? I got this little microphone. And this audience, there's an audience that's out there. But the people who are out there are listeners. The people who are out there are customers. The people who are out there are potential clients, or the people who are out there are just fans. And recently I'm like, okay, cool. This is me. This is audience. I'm like, why is that different? Like, why is that important? I'll give you a prime example. A lot of music artists focus on the music. One day when I was like really understanding more about business, I started listening to music often. Well, I started listening to the story of the music that was created. Let's just say you got 10 different songs on the album, and all 10 songs, I might not know all 10 songs. However, this is a form of marketing. You got a 2 to, let's say 4 minute, depending on the time and day, whatever case it is, average song. Like the ones I've been listening to, around 2 to 4 minutes. And so I'm like, how can anybody build a fan base off of 2 or 4 minutes? Like I'm literally listening to a song and I remember the song, remember the lyrics, but I'm like, So I started watching a documentary about the Boyz II Men. I started watching a documentary about 112. And I'm like, what are they doing? Why are they having all these interviews? Why are they going to all these different places? Why are they touring so much? Because it's a form of marketing. Marketing creates awareness. And it creates awareness because it's something that people have to pay attention to. So when I listen to the songs, when I listen to the music, I'm like, this is really good. But it doesn't stop right there. It starts at marketing. So thinking about podcasting differently is putting yourself out there to help you market to your customers, to help you market to your fans, to help you market in general. It's not just about creating the content, having the interviews, having the conversation. It's about positioning yourself as the authority. Why do I like certain music groups? Why do I like certain people? Because they put themselves out there. They put themselves out there consistently. Excuse me. When you think about podcasting, you are marketing yourself. When you think about social media, you are marketing yourself. When you think about writing a paper or writing a news article, you are marketing yourself. You are putting yourself out there. So when people start to read it, people start to say, I want to learn more about this. I want to work with this person. I want to connect with this person. Marketing creates awareness. Creates business. Shout out to the 10X movement. They talked a lot about this. And it was like, if they can't know you, they can't flow you. In other words, if nobody knows who you are, how can they spend you? How can they give you money? And shout out to Neo Davis. He always says success loves speed. Success loves speed because people don't want to wait. And when I start to recognize, I'm like, wait, hold on. There's something here. It's not just about podcasting. It's about literally marketing yourself effectively. How are you putting yourself out there? How are you connecting with others? How are you promoting yourself? How are you staying top of mind? If you're in business, you have to stay top of mind. Why? Because somebody can come and replace you. And when they replace you, you're not top of mind. So when I start to recognize, I'm like, man, there's something here. There's something different. What's different is that the podcast is a way to create. Hold on. The podcast is a shortcut. Shortcut. It's a shortcut to marketing yourself. What does that mean? What this means is that if I record a 30-minute podcast today, 30-minute, M-I-N, hold on, M-I-N-U-T-E, 30-minute podcast. This one conversation can turn into an article. It can turn into clips. It can turn into quotes. It can turn into let me see what else. Articles, clips, quotes, picture content. And like it's from one video, from one podcast, you can have so much content. You can have so many different ways to market yourself. You can have so many different ways to connect with your customers. Because when you put different things out there about your business, people start to recognize, like, wait, what are they actually doing? Why is that important? To think about podcasting differently, you have to understand that you have a product and no service. I'll give you a prime example. The product or service that we are selling is that we help multifamily investors launch their podcast with confidence. What does that mean? We help multifamily investors market their business through podcasting. Why? That's actually a good. That's actually better. That's actually better. Why? Because it's not the fact that people can't record themselves. It's more so the overwhelm that goes behind recording content. It's overwhelming to put yourself out there. It's overwhelming to buy billboards. It's overwhelming to buy newspaper articles. It's overwhelming to buy blog posts. It's overwhelming to market yourself. But if you don't market yourself, ain't nobody gonna know who you are. What's his name? Morgan. I went into the gas station one time, and when I went into the gas station, I heard a radio ad. And when I heard this radio ad, the person was talking. Towards the end, that was like, "We are the people," Morgan, or something like that, whatever their slogan is. The reason why I know that is because they're marketing themselves. It's not through podcasting, but they are marketing themselves. You have to market yourself to create awareness, but when you create that awareness, you have to continue to build upon that awareness. And even though I had issues today, I was like, man, I'm going to do this because this is something for the business. I'm not just creating podcasts just to create podcasts. I'm creating podcast episodes to promote my services and products, but I'm not just promoting it. I'm educating how to think about podcasting differently. Why? Because podcasting is looked at as, I don't want to interview people, right? You can either interview people or you can have a panel, boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Or you can have it by yourself. So this is conversation, panel, solo. And you can have all of them for your episode. Why? Marketing, there's no rules to marketing. There are rules. However, you have to figure out a way to put yourself out there consistently. You got to, let's say events. You got, let's say speaking, right? Let's say speaking. This is a form of marketing yourself because you're putting yourself out in front of people. So you got different ways to market yourself. And what I recognize is there's not just a one size fit everything. I, as a business owner, have to meet my customers where they're at, because my customers are not going to come to me. I have to spend money on ads. I have to go and do speaking engagements. I have to go to networking events. I have to go to the communities. I have to go and market myself effectively so that way people can learn more about the services that we provide. And as we are providing that, we are standing out because we're not just doing what we are not practicing. We're practicing what's important. Podcasting is not just about creating content. Podcasting is about marketing yourself effectively so your audience, customers, and your fans can learn more about you. When I start to recognize that this business game was just putting yourself out there even more and then having the right structure in place so you can actually have more customers. I'm like, this is different. But what if I master this online game, this online presence? What if I focus primarily on it and grow a audience and grow a fan base and grow a community and grow customers? What if I'm actually providing value on a daily basis? I will eventually be able to market myself effectively. Why? Because it grows. It grows, and it blows my mind the amount of people who are online, but it blows my mind the amount of people who are online, because there's so many different ways to market towards the people who are online, who are in person, who are at different events. Every customer that you run into is not going to come from one particular place. Every customer that you come into is going to come from different places, but you have to set up your marketing effectively so you can meet your customers where they're at. So when I start back doing speaking engagements, as I'm doing speaking engagements, I'm doing it in a way where you see me today, but you're not gonna stop seeing me, because if you follow me online, I'm consistent. You see, it's understanding that there's a skill that can be developed. I just literally thought about it. I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense. Podcasting is marketing yourself. In addition to that, they have different ways to market yourself. What I recognize, I have to do what's working now, and then slowly start adding things on top of each other when I already have the systems in place. That's the next point we're going to talk about. Is point number 2 is put systems in place. Hold on. Put systems in place. What does this mean? This means this was a breakthrough moment for me. This means this. You have to be small. Shout out to Monica for Spartan Incubator program. They say you got to be small but mighty. And when I heard that, hold on. Let me write that down. You got to be small but mighty. In business, what I'm starting to recognize is that if I have a way of doing business, of helping multifamily investors launch their podcasts with confidence, if I have a blueprint, if I have a plan, if I have structure, if I'm organized, I can literally have a business that's like mighty. It's mighty because of the systems. And it took me a long time. It took me a very long time to put the systems in place, because I was trying to figure out what systems I needed to be in place. You see, marketing is a system. You see, whenever I go to McDonald's are marketing themselves effectively. Why? I give you a prime example. There's a McDonald's that was recently built. As they were building it, the first thing that they put on the building was this. Here's the building. Here's that. They put this McDonald''. They put McDonald's on the building when the building wasn't even done. Why? Because now, as we are driving by, as we are walking by, as we are flying by, we see that it's called McDonald's. So the restaurant is called McDonald's, but the thing that the owner understood, the franchise owner understood, is that they was marketing themselves. They were marketing themselves because they had the name of the company on the building when they were still working on the building. Marketing comes in all shapes and forms, but I'll tell you this: if you're winging your marketing and you don't have a system by the way you show up will be inconsistent because you're not following a system. I recognize today, I was like, ooh, hold on. I've been trying to develop this system for a long time. Now that I have this system developed, I need to keep doing the system. I need to keep developing the system. Excuse me. And as I continue to do the system, I just make small adjustments. Because I'm not trying to do everything. but I'm trying to do what was going to help me be in a better position. Marketing myself doesn't just come from podcasting. Podcasting has a system around it. And when I focus on the system, I'm able to position myself as the authority in podcasting. Why? Because I'm showing up consistently and I'm marketing myself. See, marketing is step one. Step number one. Marketing is step number one. Why? Because if people don't know who you are, they can't do business with you. Okay, step number two, what I've learned and started to implement are systems. STYEMS are systems. What this consists of is this. Systems. Step number three, create customers. Systems create customers because you're able to follow up. Okay, podcasting, how to think about podcasting differently is that when you're not just creating content, no, you're staying top of mind, you're staying relevant, you're staying like in a way where people can be like, hey man, I saw this person at this event and they still showing up online and I want to get to learn more about everything that they're doing. And I thought that podcasting was not good or not necessarily good. I just thought it was as a hobby. But then when I started to learn more about the business, I was like, this is how people stay top of mind. They have a system to follow. They have a routine to follow. They have a process to develop. And as they continue to develop that, they find different ways to get customers in their business. And it's blowing my mind that it's finally making sense now because it's not just about creating content. It's about meeting your customers where they are at. Step 4, meet your customers where they are at. Why? Step 4. This is step number 4. Why? Because everybody, I ain't gonna say everybody. There's a lot of people who are on social media. There's a lot of people who are off of social media. There's a lot of people who only uses one social media. There's a lot of people who read books. There's a lot of people who watch movies. There's a lot of people who watch different types of content. Okay. Content equals marketing. And meeting your customers where they're at means adjustment. This right here equals adjustment. Adjustment. What are you adjusting to? You're adjusting to meeting your customers. Sometimes what I recognize is this. When I started half a decade ago, I was just like doing a lot of content creation, and so on and so forth. Then when I start to work with entrepreneurs and they say, man, I've been seeing you everywhere. And I'm like, for real? I'm like, I didn't even know that you would see me everywhere. But people would tell you I've been seeing you everywhere. And I didn't know it was called marketing. I'm like, appreciate it, but I didn't know what I wanted to sell. You see, helping multifamily investors launch their podcast with confidence is more than just you recording content. It's literally making you an authority. I've been seeing you everywhere, and I saw this. My wife and I went to this event. And they was like they're about to start posting a lot of different times just to stay top of mind, stay relevant. In addition to that, he said this. He said his customers came to him because he was everywhere. He's everywhere. People start to remember where they start to see you from. They might not know exactly, but they start to say, I've seen this person somewhere. And what this does for you is that it helps your business have more customers. What's going on? I don't know how to say that. What's going on, bro? And your customers start to find you. Shout out to Mara Golden because he made a statement. He was like, you gotta be findable for your customers. Okay, being findable. I don't know if that's a word. You can call me Lemon. All good. Lemon, man, I appreciate you for joining in, bro. Where you tapping in from? Being findable is this. You gotta be findable because you gotta market. Hold on. Where's that? Hold on. To be findable, you gotta be marketable. Is that a word? Marketable, findable, marketable. I'm gonna ask my wife. She has a degree in English. Anywho, what I'm saying is this. If you can't be findable, if you're not marketing yourself, how are people going to do business with you? Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me say, you filming for YouTube. Man, I'm filming for YouTube. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on X. I'm on Twitter. X, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Great question, Lemon. And when you're findable, this is the breakthrough. This is what I was really struggling with, because I'm like, man, what about selling? What about offering? Like, I don't even know the business that I was in. Then I recognized, I was like, oh, hold on. Being findable and don't marketable is putting yourself out there. Okay, what does that actually mean? It means showing up when there's nobody watching you. It means showing up when no one is present. It means showing up and doing the work. Doing the work equals your in business. You are in business. It doesn't matter what type of content you're creating. You got to remember that you're in business. You got to market yourself so you can be findable for your customers to find you, to say, I have this problem and I see you everywhere. And I start to recognize, I said, ooh, this podcast is different because this is step number one. This is where I meet you where you are at. If you are online, I can meet you where you're at. When I add something onto it, I'm going to add it slowly. But before I do, I'm going to develop the system. The system is the blueprint. The system is the routine. The system are the emails. The system is what will keep me organized. Because if I'm small and mighty, hold on, I wrote this earlier. I can't, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. If I'm small but mighty, I'm organized like a business. Hold on. I really want to continue watching, but I have to go. Would this be recorded to watch later? Absolutely, bro. Go to Failure is Knowledge, and it'll be recorded there. It'll be on that. So go ahead and go to that one. And I think it'll be on Twitch as well. So in addition to that, when you're small but mighty, this is why it started to finally make sense. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I literally asked. I said, I got a question. I said, I got to ask this question. I said, when you said small but mighty, I said, how are y'all small but mighty? So how she explained it, she was like, well, great question. We have systems in place. We have templates in place. We have a process in place. We are structured. And I'm like, oh, huh. Ever since then, I've been working towards system building. Not just system winging, system building. Okay. I had another conversation with a mentor, and as we was talking, he was talking about the sales process. So he drew like 4 different boxes. Quite honestly, I don't remember what was in the boxes, but essentially this is like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I don't remember what was in the boxes or what was labeled as the boxes. But what he explained is this. He said, whenever a customer come into your world, they come into your world wanting to seek information, wanted to learn more. How are you taking them from step 1 to step 2? I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm able to get the customers there. Like, I'm able to bring the customers here. Excuse me. And when the customers come, okay, I'm able to like do the webinar. I'm able to do online training. They stay towards the end, and it's like mind blowing. But then when I get to the selling part, it's like, well, they not buying it. They not converting. And he was like, well, good thing is that you're getting people there. That's the hardest step, is to get people there. I was like, I agree. He said, next step that you have to start doing is maybe you got to adjust your offer. Maybe you have to adjust what you're selling and how you are presented. And I was like, okay, why is that important? He was like, because a lot of times what happens is that when you go from step 1 to step 2, you got to understand your customer's problem. Like, what are they actually thinking in this moment? Like, in this step, before they get to step 3, where are they in step 2? I was like, great question. How would I find that out? He said, another great question. He said, you got to talk to your customers. Speak to your customers. And when you speak to your customers, you learn. Hold on. You learn more. Why? Because they tell you the problem. They use the words in the way that they're going to explain it, and this will help you with your marketing. Podcasting is more than just content creation. Podcasting is marketing effectively while using the language of your customers. That's the last one I want to hit on. It's to speak to your customers. Speak to your customers. Speak to your customers. And what this did for me is this. It helped me understand what problem they was actually going through. So, a lot of multifamily investors and entrepreneurs hesitate to create content. They hesitate because they don't want to look what is it called? They want to look perfect. They don't want to mess up. They don't want to sound like they don't know what they're talking about. They don't want to be embarrassed. They want to be confident. But before they get confident, they hesitate because they don't know how to be confident on camera. See, when I started podcasting, I hated the way I sounded. And I'm like, man, I got to change this. What's going on, family? I was like, man, I got to change this. I was like, it ain't working. But then what I recognize is this. I can't do nothing about my voice. Although I didn't like how I was sounding on camera, I got comfortable sharing my voice, sharing my experience, sharing my wisdom, sharing overall. Because now that I'm thinking about podcasting differently today, and back then I was just thinking about like getting the reps, getting the practice, like getting the hang of it. Hey bro, is your mic still working? It went out for a second. Great question. I'm not sure how to fix that. Oh wait. Try now. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And when I got or learn how to get more comfortable on camera, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm developing the skill, developing the routine, developing the process, developing. The reason why I didn't like my voice because I wasn't used to hearing my voice. It might be on my end, but I'm not sure. Okay, that's a bad. I just end this one. Appreciate it, family. And they hesitate because they don't want to mess up. But I tell aspiring podcasters this. I say you got to get comfortable sharing your story. You got to get comfortable educating you. But before you get used to any of that, get comfortable with just introducing yourself. Why? Because when you introduce yourself, hold on. When you introduce yourself, you're finding your voice. You're finding your voice. And when your voice is found, people start to hear you more. When your voice is found, people start to hear you more. Why? It goes back to the statement that I said earlier about being findable. When you're findable, you're marketable. But before you get marketable, you got to become findable. So when you find your voice, you are literally learning how to present yourself, how to educate, how to be more confident, how to show your story. Every aspiring podcaster has a story, yet they have to understand what they are doing. So then I start to learn how to speak to my customers. When shout out to Action Zone. Action Zone is a veterans-owned program, nonprofit program where they help veterans, transit service members, and people who are first responders launch their business from ideal concept to growing their business. They say In business, you have to figure out a problem to solve. And when you recognize the problem to solve, go out and go speak to your customers. What problem are you solving? Go ask the questions about it and have them explain if this is the problem. Okay, prime example. I've recently started doing this. I was like, okay, I got to change that. What are challenges that you face when it comes to podcasting? Podcasting is my niche, but if I want to speak to my customers who are multifamily investors, I need to change that because it's too focused. They might not even be thinking about podcasting. They might be thinking about marketing. So I would ask, what are the challenges that you face when it comes to marketing your business? Why? Because now I'm speaking in a language where they can understand it. I'm not speaking in my language. I'm speaking in a language where they can understand it. Then they will tell me what they are struggling with. Some might say they get referrals, word of mouth. They only do business in person. So what that tells me is that I have opportunity. Why? Because they only are doing business in person. And they don't really understand the online world. So then I'm like, all right, cool. As I'm speaking to my customers, I'm learning the language. I'm learning the language. Language equals marketing. So when I go out and speak to my customers, I'm understanding what problems they have and how they explain it. So now, as I'm going out to them and I'm understanding the problem that they are experiencing is a solution that I have, but what have you tried in the past? What has worked? What has not worked? What are you willing to try? When you speak to your customers, you understand the problem that they are facing and you can help them solve that problem because you're hearing what they're saying. I was in another program and they talked about how you got to get out the office, go speak to your customers. You have to get out the office to really understand what problems your customers are experiencing and why they're experiencing that. Podcasting is it's not just about recording. Podcasting is about marketing yourself. It's about staying top of mind. It's about being an authority in your space. But before you become the authority, you have to learn how to market yourself effectively. So that's when I start to understand I found my lane, I found my customers, and now the problem that I'm solving, I only recognize the problem that I'm solving because I had the same problem, but let me go out to speak to my customers to understand how they explain it so I can use my marketing language, my marketing terminology to help connect with them to solve that problem even more. So just to recap everything that we talked about today we talked about how, where's it at? So point number 1, you have to market yourself. So podcasting is marketing. You have to learn how to market yourself because if you're not learning how to market yourself, you're not promoting yourself. Point number 2, you have to put systems in place. Don't just create content just to create content. Create content with meaning behind it, with the purpose behind it, and you will be in business. Point number 3 is that you have to speak to your customers. Go out and talk to your customers and you'll be able to solve the problem that they are struggling with because you have the solution. So if you're a multifamily investor and or entrepreneur and you struggle with putting yourself out there, marketing yourself and gaining more business, make sure you send us an email at Terrell@failureisKnowledge. Send us an email. We'd love to schedule a call with you. So that way we can learn and help you with your marketing and help you become the authority that you are meant to be. Lastly, don't be afraid to fail because failure is knowledge.